Good evening. I'd like to call the meeting of the North Rock Planning Commission to order, please. Would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Banks? Commissioner Foster? Commissioner Pierce?
Here.
Commissioner White? Chairman Clifton?
Here.
Commissioner Chambers? Commissioner, I forgot my roll call sheet. Commissioner Wallace? Commissioner Blasco? Blasco?
Oh, here, sorry.
And Commissioner Phillips. Commissioner Phillips?
Is those not present, Mr. Chairman?
Didn't answer me.
Motion made and seconded that those not present be excused. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. We do not have anything today under administrative, so we'll move the approval of the minutes. You have been supplied a copy of the minutes from our last meeting. Are there any additions or corrections?
Move for approval?
Motion made and seconded. They be approved as submitted. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. We'll move right into our agenda portion of the meeting. Okay. Okay. New agenda, under administrative, item number 14 is withdrawn. We'll cover that on the new agenda. And also the selection of officers to take place on April the 11th, hearing to take office on the May the 9th hearing. So that will be coming up on our April meeting. Mr. Chambers?
Two things, Mr. Chairman. Item 13 was withdrawn by the, requested to be postponed by the applicant.
I have that on our new agenda.
And also, as many of you may know, the city is consolidating a lot of offices in the new, on the old AT&T building, phone building on MacArthur. And I think it's imminent that the Planning Commission is moving. I was going to ask Sean to give us an update of when that might happen and how it might affect us.
So the building is being worked on right now. Second floor, probably the departments on the second floor will start moving in 1st of April. So that would be planning department, engineering department, and HR will start moving in April. And that will fill up the second floor. Hopefully we will be eventually we'll be having planning commission over there. So there'll be a chambers over there just for planning commission. I'm hoping it'll probably be May. It might be ready for April, but I bet more on May that it'll be ready by May.
Possibly June or July.
Yeah, hopefully May.
Okay.
Will it be done for the second Tuesday in April? It'll be
Is
close.
that on MacArthur? Did I call the right street?
It'd be, it's across from Debbie's old restaurant, Sirloin's Inn.
Right.
It's across from that on 29th. So the entrance will be off at 29th.
Off 29th Street.
Yeah, so I think it's 700, I think 700 east or west 29th.
Okay.
Good.
Yeah. And so we'll start moving in, like I said, next month, and eventually the city services building will be empty and they'll tear that down.
So all the commissioners get here for planning commission meeting and no one's in the room, we'll know.
You're in the wrong place, yes. We'll put a sign on the door.
Okay, thank you for that update. Item number 1 on our agenda today has asked for a reconfiguration of our agenda. He has another agenda meeting at Sherwood Planning Commission, and they meet just a very short time later than us, and he has one there. So he has asked that to be moved to our item number 19 to be moved to our first. So we'd like to move that to the first. So we would also, if you're here for item number 11, that's at 403 Parker, it will be moved to the bottom of the agenda due to the amount of information that will flow on that. Also, number 13 has been postponed today, and item number 14 has been withdrawn. So with that, we'll move right into subdivision number 2329. Mr. Chambers?
SD 2329, the Design Review Committee met and considered item SD 2329, Highway 365 RV Park Lot 1, preliminary plat and site plan review for an RV park at 10,001 Highway 165. The applicant was present, agreed to items 1 through 15 in subsections, and the Design Review Committee recommends approval.
Is there anyone in the audience who would like to speak on this application? Any comments from any of the commissioners? Ms. Belasco? Highway 165. Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Item number 2 on our agenda is special use case number 2304.
Mr. Chairman, point of order, going back to item 1 on the agenda.
Item 1 we'll go back to is Mr. Chambers.
Yes, sir. We have a notice here from members of the, for SD 2021-63, an item considered last year for proposed addition, Lot 5R, replat site plan review for a church at 3901 Rogers Street. They're requesting a one-time, one-year extension of their application.
Is there anyone that would like to speak on this extension application? Yes, ma'am. Please come up and give us your name for the record.
Good afternoon. My name is Laverne Hampton, and my address is 4419 East 46, North Little Rock, Arkansas. And I wanted to speak on behalf of A Touch of Glory Ministry.
Yes, ma'am.
And we're asking for a one-year extension of approval for our site plan and our building permit at our 3901 Rogers Street, please.
Yes, ma'am. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this application? Any comments from any of the commissioners?
Just a question for Sean. Does our action automatically extend the building permit or just the site plan review?
It has nothing to do with the building permit.
Okay.
On the application as presented, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Yes, ma'am, it
Thank you,
has.
sir.
Go to number 2, special use case number 2304, 7,000 JFK, for special use to allow a columbarium on the grounds of Immaculate Conception Church in an R5 zone. Is the applicant here? Someone representing? Yes, sir. Please come and give us your name, the record.
Greg Peckham, Peckham Smith Architects, 2222 Cottondale, Little Rock.
Okay. Did this go to the,
Yeah.
okay, it has been to the site plan review.
Yes, sir.
When you were at site plan review, did you review all of the recommendations that were asked for at the site plan review?
We didn't actually go through site plan review. Since it's a special use, it's not required. So I was not at site plan review.
I remember hearing this. No?
That's what Donna told me.
You're probably correct, and I read this thoroughly and just kind of shoved it in that little drawer there. Okay.
Okay, very good.
Okay. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this application? Is there any comments from any of the commissioners on the application? Mr. Chambers?
Yes, I just want the conditions to be included with the application, and the major one is allow phasing of a 1,300-ish columbarium. So our action will allow phasing.
Okay. You understand what
Yes,
he's asked for
absolutely.
there? And that's agreeable?
Yes.
Okay. Anyone else? Any comments from any other commissioners? On the application as presented, with the phasing. All in favor, aye? Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I think we call roll on those.
Call the roll. Okay, please call the roll on that.
Banks? Foster? Pierce?
Yes.
Chambers?
Yes.
Phillips? Wallace? Glasgow?
Yes.
And Chairman Clifton.
Yes. Next item is item number 3. 2304, 1723 West 19th, rezoning from an R3 to an R4 to recognize 2 existing single-family homes on 1 lot. Is the applicant here? Applicant here on this? Do you have any communication from them?
No, they were informed of today's hearing.
Mr. Chairman, move that we postpone this to the end of the meeting to give them a chance.
Motion made and seconded, we postpone it to the bottom of the meeting. All in favor, okay?
Okay?
Thank you. Next item is rezone case number 2023-05 at 7100 Colonial Maynard Drive, rezoning from I-1 to an I-3 to recognize an existing manufacturing facility. Is the applicant here?
Yes, sir. Brian Dale with Joe White and Associates, here to represent the application.
Okay. Any comments you'd like to make on it?
No, sir, just be happy to answer any questions that staff or the commission may have.
Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this application? Yes, sir. Please come and give us your name for the record.
Good afternoon. My name is Patrick Loggins. I'm one of the residents out there in North Little Rock that live next to this manufacturing facility. Our concerns is from reading about the chemicals or the use from I-1 to I-3, it's kind of unclear to us what the company will be doing at the level of I-3, because it says that could be hazardous material, it could be high noise, it could be some other things that could affect us. And we have no idea what that is, and that's why we're here to try to get an understanding of what would they be doing, since we are so close to the manufacturing facility.
Okay. Let me ask this lady, you want to come forward and give us your comment, sir? Give us your name for the record.
Yeah, my name's Larry Bellerton, and we are right behind the manufacturing company. And we also would like to know what are their plans, and we would like to have a list of the chemicals and stuff that they would like to process, so we would know what we are facing. And I think it's no more than fair to know that.
Okay, thank you. The applicant, I'm sorry, yes, ma'am.
Everyone. My name is Betty Bellerton, and I'm right next door. My husband and I are to this plant that they're trying to rezone. And we want to know, like he said, are these chemicals harmful? Will it be a runoff? You know, like, what would they do with the waste, if it's any? And I don't think no one would want to live next door to a chemical plant that will lower our property value, and also how harmful will it be to the residents out there? So we just need to know, you know, really what's going on, because the letter that we got, certified letter, it did not tell us anything. So we're just concerned about, you know, our health, our neighbors' health, our property value, and their property value.
Okay, thank you. In the background here, is this operating now? Do they have a current business license now?
If I could give just a little background, and maybe Brian can, if I say something wrong, jump in, please. So Nothing's going to change. It's been in operation doing this 2006. The issue is they're getting ready to sell it, and the new buyer or the realtor, the buyer or the realtor was wanting to confirm that the zoning was correct. So when we annexed it, the building was already there and the use was already there. I mean, I don't know who we is, but it was misunderstood exactly what they're doing. So it was observed as a warehouse, so it was assigned I-1. But whoever at that time didn't go knock on the door and ask exactly what you're doing. And at that point in time, we would have found out it was I-3 and would have been brought in as I-3 because that's what they were doing back in 2006. So it's I'm not saying it was an error on staff, but there's not going to be any changes. I mean, they've been operating this way for years, and nothing's going to change. It's just a change of ownership.
Okay. Ms. Chambers?
Just to ask the question, though, everyone seems to be dancing around. What's the name of the company and what do they do specifically?
So they, by definition of code, it is manufacturing, but the chemicals are brought in as raw chemicals, and they blend them. They are not creating new chemicals. They're not creating new elements or anything like that. They are blending chemicals, and then the blended chemicals, most of them go to water treatment or wastewater treatment facilities throughout Arkansas. They supply chemicals to roughly 100 of the water facilities throughout Arkansas, you know, in there. But I guess by the definition of code, that is considered manufacturing because they are blending them together. So they take two raw chemicals, they blend them together, and then they send them out for treatment facilities. Because of the ADEQ regulations that are on them of what they do, they are fully contained. So if there is a chemical spill, it is fully contained within the facility. The building has curbs on the wall so that if it spills inside the facility, it is self-contained inside the building. Where they are loading and unloading chemicals, those are truck wells that are also self-contained. So if there was a spill loading or unloading a truck, it is self-contained there as well. It's all contained in concrete, chemical, and they're in full compliance with ADEQ.
Okay, well, humor me just a little bit because I know enough about water and wastewater treatment to be dangerous. Specifically, what chemicals are they making? What blends are they making a flocculant? Are they making a purifier, or just?
We can get that for you, but I don't know that exact detail offhand. They do have it on their website. It's out there that it's I think staff even looked at it at one time, but it's they list the different chemicals on their website that they do mix and blend.
So it's for water treatment and wastewater treatment facilities.
Yes, sir. Throughout Arkansas.
Okay.
Mr. Foster?
I guess my question is, are any of these chemicals classified as hazardous?
I think some of them are classified as hazardous. I do believe that is true.
You know what classification they are?
No, sir, I do not. I just know that they're regulated by ADEQ heavily, and they are in compliance and have an active permit that they have inspections all the time.
So the fire marshal goes out every year and inspects it, and, you know, the fire marshal hasn't had an issue in, 15, 20 years. And your safety things that you explain, I mean, those have been in existence for years, so it's not something you just now did.
Yeah, since 2006, they have not had a spill or had any incidents or anything that we're aware of or that's on ADEQ's record.
Okay. Let me ask Ms. Melton, how long have y'all lived there by the facility?
We moved there in 2008.
Okay. So have y'all ever had any problem with them in the time that you?
Nice neighbors, but we're just concerned about, the hazard, and we're also concerned about on our side, and when it rains, all that water runs over into our yard. When my husband get out there, he get out there and cut the yard, it gives him a real bad headache. And that's the only area that he gets a real bad headache is when he's out there cutting that yard, on that side. And we're just trying to find out
The questions that he provided, the answers that he provided, did they satisfy your questions that you're asking what they were? ADEQ, things like that? Okay. Okay. You, sir, same question for you?
I moved out there in 2010. No, I haven't had any problems with them. My concern though, for what they were saying, they're getting ready to sell. And with the new owner, they don't have to do what they were doing. They can come back and do whatever they want to, especially with this high rate. It's a whole, it opens up another.
Okay.
They say they've been manufacturing there all along under an IC by error. So now they're trying to fix it because they're selling. So that lets you know that the other company wants to come in and do something. If not at that level or a little bit more, and they want to make sure all the paperwork is right.
Okay. Thank you all. Anyone else in the audience that would like to speak on this application? Any other comments from any of the commissioners?
Yeah.
Mr. Wallace?
I guess to the planning department, in the past, how was it handled when a manufacturing company came in? Did they have to list the chemicals that they were using to the public, or?
If a new building was coming in and it was zoned correctly, no. The issue here is, back when we annexed it, staff went out and it looked like a warehouse. They're storing things. And that was, whoever answered our question said, we're storing things. So it was done as I-1. And so, I don't think they're planning on doing anything different. Somebody wants to buy, I think they're retiring, aren't they, the owner, or?
I think Joe is, but I think the daughter is.
Yeah, so it's not he's ran his business, he's wanting to retire and trying to sell it.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Wallace. Mr. Chambers?
Mr. Foster was first.
Yeah, Mr. Foster?
Yeah, staff, I'm kind of concerned about, what the new owners may do there. Maybe a question could ask is, under I-3, are they allowed to have more severe, more dangerous, more hazardous chemicals than would be approved for I-1? Or is that not really, I've read the code many times and I've never seen that kind of designation, but you all might know a little bit more about it than I do.
Yes and no to the question. I mean, those same chemicals could be, it's because they're mixing them, it's falling under manufacturing. So those same chemicals could probably be stored separately in I-1 in warehousing. So at the point in time when we designated the, I-1, we didn't know that they mixed them there. So they would, I can't speak, that's more of a fire marshal question, but, warehousing would allow any type of chemicals to be stored there. It's because now they're mixing them is where the I-3 comes in, because it falls under manufacturing.
Okay, so if they weren't mixing them, then I-1 would still be applicable, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, the chemicals would still be allowed there in I-1 if they weren't mixing them. Because it'd be a warehouse. I mean, it was warehousing.
Do you know if it's, if these chemicals become more hazardous once they're mixed, or is it in the raw form still a hazardous material?
I think they're still the same. I know a question was asked earlier, what type of treatments are they doing? So I'm on their website. They do corrosion, coagulation, liquid softening, chloramination, oxidation, fluoridation. Those are the types of things that they have listed on their website. It's chemicals, it's Greek to me, but hopefully that helps somebody.
Yes.
Mr. Chambers?
Yes, sir. I understand the need to be I-3 because of the current use. Yet they were coming in and their ownership was stay the same and all that, that'd be fine. But I-3 is if you read all the things that are allowed, and then they're selling the property, and we have no assurance that the people buying it are going to continue doing the same thing, which even then, 5 years from now, they could change their mind and do something else within I-3. I just personally can't support just plunking I-3 down in the middle of a quiet rural area. So it's just too many things under I-3 that I can't agree with, put it that way.
Yes,
So with it being currently designated as a I-1, if it were to remain I-1, or if you will, we were not to agree to make this change, what impact does that have to this current owner? Would it be more of a technicality for the new owners that they wouldn't have the flexibility to have it designated as a I-3? Is that what we're dealing with, or what? Because right now it's in the condition that it's in, which is an I-1. What forces us to change it to I-3 if that's such a thing?
I think, again, I don't want to put words, based on the current financial status of everything, I'm assuming it's the bank, the mortgage is making, they want to make sure before we loan money for you to buy a business, it's zoned correctly. And so I think that's what's caused this, is this, the future buyer is doing his due diligence, and his bank is asking for, or the lender is asking for, a zoning certificate. And that's what brought all this in, was they came in, the new owner, or they haven't bought it yet, but the possible new owner was asking for a zoning certificate. And that's at the point in time we asked exactly what you do, and then that's when we found out that it's a little more than warehousing.
So what I'm understanding, Sean, is, just make sure we're clear on this, that the fact that they're manufacturing here by combining these chemicals, that's why it's initiated to go to an I-3. And then
Correct.
basically, if they weren't doing that, they could stay at I-3, but they couldn't mix the chemicals, but they could still have the store.
They would have trouble getting a business license. They would have trouble getting a business license.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so we wouldn't be able to say the zoning's correct for them to get a business license. So then it becomes an enforcement issue, I guess, on what we're going to do, what would happen. But, the same company's been operating there before the neighborhood came in, before Ashley Downs across the street. So, they were sort of out there by themselves for a long time. And so the city sort of crept up in on them. So I'm not sure what the outcome would be if this is turned down at city council. I think Mr. Banks and Foster was asking what happens if this gets turned down, or, are we going to close down the business? I didn't want to. I think that's what you were asking. Is
Not really.
yes.
Right.
Their
That's,
business license would remain.
As a warehouse.
that's what I'm understanding.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you for helping.
Okay, sorry. Explain. Yeah. There you go.
okay. Any other
I can draw
comments
it,
from
but
any
not speak it,
commissioners? Okay,
So,
thanks.
so Sean, if I'm understanding correctly, they are operating currently in violation of zoning
Correct.
code. Is that correct?
Yes, because we have just found out that they were mixing the chemicals. So the fire marshal's gone in for years and done inspections and never put the two together, I guess, because we didn't know exactly what they were doing. So, I mean, it's been inspected each year for safety and everything, and met all the requirements.
So another comment that was made, and I don't know where I picked this up in some of this conversation, but has this facility been here before the residential development? Is that what you guys are saying?
Yes,
too?
they were there in 2006, and before the city even annexed. So it was out there in the county, and then the city annexed them in 2010, I think.
Correct, they were there before the city was.
Yeah, 2010.
They were there before the residents and before the city.
And they were operating in a manufacturing format of mixing chemicals
Correct.
From
yes.
day one.
from day one.
Saying when they were, when they were annexed, they were already operating this way, when the
Correct,
city
yes.
annexed them.
And so when we annexed, we went out and, all the existing businesses, asked what they were doing, and they were brought in at the correct zone. It just, I guess, whoever did it at that time didn't ask enough questions. What do you have here is warehousing is what they answered. And they, that was probably the majority of what they do there, and the mixing is, square footage of the business, not that much square footage of it, so, and no one ever knew until, a couple months ago.
Ms. Belasco?
Would this be a case for neighborhood meeting, everybody together, just an idea, and then come back?
Would you like to postpone to conduct a meeting with your neighbors?
Just a suggestion, Brian.
Give them a
I
tour,
don't-
make them feel better.
If we defer, would it be a 1-month deferral?
Yes.
And do we have the neighborhood meeting out there? Maybe at the,
That would be up to you and your neighbors.
okay. Is it too late to request a deferral for 1 month right now?
No, sir?
We would like to request a 1-month deferral so that we can meet with the neighbors.
Okay. All in favor of granting a postponement for a month? Aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Okay, we will. You might get with your neighbors and everyone get together on the same page. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Belasco.
Number 5, rezone case number 2309, 10524 Crystal Hill Road from an R1 to an R5 to allow development of townhouses. Is the applicant here?
Good evening, Roy Andrews.
Yes, sir. Want to briefly tell us what you're trying to do?
Existing piece of property that's undeveloped, and we want to look at building townhomes on it.
Okay. In the summary, the staff is supportive of this request. Has been through site plan review.
Yes,
Item.
You're agreeable
yes.
with all the things. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this application? Any comments from any of the commissioners? On the application, please call the roll.
Commissioner Banks? Commissioner Foster?
Yes.
Commissioner Pierce?
Yes.
Commissioner Chambers?
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips? Yes. Commissioner Wallace? Yes. Commissioner Blasco?
Yes.
And Chairman Clifton.
Yes. Your application did pass. See Mr. Spencer, and he can tell you what next. Thank you. Mr. Chambers?
Yes, sir. Item number 6 is SD 2023-26 Cypress Trail Lot 1, site plan review for multifamily at 10,524 Crystal Hill Road. This is the site plan for the previous item. The applicant was present, agreed to items 1 through 14 in subsections, and the Development Review Committee recommends approval.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to be approved as submitted. Any comments from anyone in the audience? Any comments from any of the commissioners? All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Item number 7 is rezone case number 2308, 9,000 to 9,200 blocks of White Oak Crossing, lots 5, 6, and 7, from a rezone from I-2 to C3 to allow development of retail. This will be a down zone. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this application? Staff is supported of this zoning request. Any comments from any of the commissioners? On the application, please call the roll.
Commissioner Banks? Commissioner Foster?
Yes.
Commissioner Pierce?
Yes.
Commissioner Chambers?
Yes.
Commissioner Phillips? Yes. Commissioner Wallace?
Yes.
Commissioner Blasco?
Yes.
And Chairman Clifton.
Yes, your application did pass. See, Mr. Spencer can tell you where to go. Mr. Chambers?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, the Design Review Committee met, considered item SD 2023-27, Council Massey Industrial Park, Lot 7, site plan review for retail at 9251 Commerce Cove. Applicant was present, agreed to items 1 through 14 in subsections, and the Design Review Committee recommends approval.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. This application be approved as submitted. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this application? You agree with all of the recommendations that was put forth?
Yes.
Any comments from any of the commissioners? On the application as submitted, all in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Number 9 is rezone case number 2306, 400 Division Street, a rezone from R4 to a PUD to allow for development of 5 townhomes. The applicant here?
Yes, sir. Chairman Clifton, Thomas Pownell with Thomas Engineering, representing the applicants for this rezone.
Briefly tell us what you want to do, Mr.
Okay, this property is zoned R4 on 4th Street, and what we are looking to do is rezone to a PUD to allow the development of 5 townhomes and associated parking. These are 1-bedroom townhomes.
Okay, is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this application?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, my name's Cliff Hoofman. I'm a property owner in the Porches Rockwater subdivision. I have put on your desk a petition signed by every one of the property owners in the Rockwater Porches subdivision who are concerned with, and they oppose this petition, along with the one with affecting the other lot, which is, I think, adjacent to it. We are concerned that our property values will be reduced. 4th Street is only 18 feet wide. It dead ends right there to the west. That street obviously was developed for 4 houses on that block. Already there has been, after the construction of Porches, which requires, I think, 9 of the homes to come off of 4th Street to go into the driveway that goes to the back of their house. There's also been constructed at the dead end of 4th Street 12 duplexes. As it turns out, there's only one of them that's been rented, but you can see with an 18-foot wide street, we're concerned that our ability to go and come from that area is going to be quite restricted. I've also put on your desk a letter. I was asked by one of the commissioners for an opinion with regard to the impact of this development on the homes of those in the Porches. And Ms. Birch, who has 25 years' experience in commercial and residential development, came and looked at the property and listed a number of reasons why she was of the opinion that this development would significantly impact negatively the properties within the Porches there. It seems to me that when the Rockwater development was conceived, there was developed the roundabout for entrance to that development. And that development originally was conceived to be less than 100 units, housing units there. With what has been approved and already constructed and what is under construction now, there will be over 700 homes trying to go and come in that one inlet outlet. We on Parker Street and 4th Street fear that the natural result of all those people when they get there are going to turn our little residential streets into a thoroughfare. I would think that the city ought to be thinking in a longer term on how that traffic is going to move. Mr. Chambers and I visited about it. He suggested that we see what the original alternative was discussed to be Paul Duke Drive as an alternative for the access and ingress and egress for the whole community. I went from the smokestack down there, which is the center of Rockwater, and to Pike from there, going through Paul Duke, is 1.7 miles. But you go through 9 stop signs, 1 yield sign, and 6 curves on a very narrow road. And then it's 2.8 miles back to the roundabout. And for anybody in Rockwater, you got to go to the roundabout to go anywhere. I mean, so ultimately, even if you go out Pike and come back, you got to go 2.8 miles to what I just explained to you. So that's certainly not a reasonable alternative. So the city, and I know it's not your people's responsibility, but the city should do a traffic analysis before that 320 unit apartment complex is constructed to find how they're going to move that property. But I digress a little bit. We are very much opposed to this 10 units, this 5 in this one proposal, but the next proposal is the other 5. And already that little street is overwhelmed. And we hope that you will not approve this change and leave it as it is, knowing that it's R4, and R4 would allow more, but the setbacks required by an R4 is not going to allow that many units to be constructed there. So with that in mind, I appreciate you giving me this time to talk with you, and I hope you will not approve this application.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak on this application?
My name is Cope Gracie, and I'm the actual developer of the project. We own the property to the west, which is currently being discussed. We also own the 11 units to the south of this, which is the Riverwalk Townhomes. We also own the property on the east side of Mr. Hoofman's house, and we own all of the property to the north of that on 4th, 7th, and Parker Street. There are multiple projects that are all going to be discussed today, all developing around property we own or property that Roger Coburn owns, who's also a developer here as well. I'll keep this short and sweet because we have developed this property to bring the buildings to the street to create a very walkable, desirable, unique, uniform setback. We can flip this project, put the buildings back on the back of the property line, meet the setbacks, have the parking in the front, meet the parking requirements, and we don't have to do a PUD requirement. So I just want to make you guys aware that we're trying to develop this where the buildings look uniform and they enhance 4th Street. 4th Street will be widened to 27 feet at our expense. So we'll be taking care of 4th Street on both parcels. So if there's any specific questions, I'll be asked to answer those as well.
Okay, thank you. Give me your name again for the record, please.
I'm the developer, Cope, C-O-P-E, Gracie, G-R-A-C-Y.
Any comments from any of the commissioners? Ms. Pierce?
Are these rental or are you going to sell them?
It's still being determined. They defined as townhomes, so they can be sold individual units. The actual will be considered rentals. We own the property. As I said, the 11 units, we have written 7 of those. They start moving in April 1st.
Mr. Foster?
Rockwater has sprung and kind of been developed, kind of what the city planning, and I guess many people has been involved in the planning in the downtown area of North Little Rock to be more dense population. And it's kind of more conducive to that walkable, livable kind of a concept of new urbanism these days. But, you know, my opinion, guys, is I'm afraid we're saturated, you know. We're kind of, think we've gone as far as we need to go with the density and trying to continue with that kind of a density that was done in previous developments down there. You know, I think, you know, not to say that I'm totally against this maybe in the future, but I concur with Mr. Hoofman about the traffic there. You know, I've always been concerned with it. I lived 6 months last summer down at Esplanade, and every day I went through that roundabout at rush hour in the morning, and it's a mess. And in the evening, it's just as bad. So I think that's going to be an issue, and not to say I'm totally against it in the future, if something can be done with that kind of traffic in that area. Another thing is I received an email from Rockwater last week, and it had a marketing material in there, and they were having some kind of event down there, which they do frequently. I noticed in the material they sent was, you know, obviously as part of the marketing effort to sell property down there, but it was a site plan of the master plan of Rockwater. And it indicates that the porches, and basically it says they're sold out, and it shows them to be built out just like the master plan has been shown, which if you know, you're kind of familiar with those, the porches all orient into an interior courtyard. It's a linear courtyard. It kind of goes from south to north. On the north side of 4th Street, the master plan shows that entire half block there as an open space, a green space. That's the area that we're talking, that's under discussion right now. So, you know, and some of the residents down there have told me they've seen this before. So people at the porches, I'm sure, were given this. Matter of fact, I know one of them said they did. And they were anticipating when they bought that lot, spent their money to develop their houses there and their homes, were anticipating that to be a green space, which obviously what we're trying to do here would be counter to that. I mean, that's just my opinion about the development down there, and I think it's my responsibility as serving on this commission to express my opinion and see what I can do to make the development in this area and our cities as best as we can be.
Thank you, Mr. Foster. Mr. Chambers?
Yes, just to further clarify your remarks, Mr. Foster, the park you're looking at is actually the next item we're going to consider in that area. If you compare your map to the area that's circled in red, the park you're seeing is due north of the porches.
It includes that piece of property also.
Oh, it's full half block?
Yes.
That's just the quarter block?
Right.
Oh, okay. Okay. This is a very difficult decision for me because basically, this is, Mr. Pownall, you can help me out here. If this is not the 3rd or 4th plan, it's probably the 5th or 6th plan we've seen for this property. And it's really a choice for me. The base zoning allows a certain number of units developed a certain way that are not nearly as attractive as this. And I think it actually allows more units than, I'm speculating here, but it seemed to recall more units. Parking would be a different configuration. The building would be pushed farther back and all manner of things, but this is a more attractive, of all the layouts we've seen on my little committee has seen on this property, this is probably so far the most attractive layout we've seen yet and has the least number of units. So this is a PUD. You're actually rezoning the land to that specific site plan. And if they go back to their base zoning, which is R4, I don't think we're going to be happy with the attractiveness of what is proposed by right on the property. My 2 cents.
May I
Spencer?
just go into a little more detail on what you were saying visually? So you're correct, it's zoned R4. So this 5 apartments or 5 units is allowed on R4, and there would be no rezoning. The applicant has asked, if we look up here, the PUD allows the 5 units to be up against the street. So if it gets turned down, I would sort of just flip this around where the units are on the back part and the parking's up front. So that's all that's being asked right now, is to allow the units up against the street so you don't look at the parking lot. So you sort of take this, what they have up there right now, and just flip it, and that would be what's allowed by right.
Mr. Banks?
So if I'm understanding correctly, what you're saying to us is that the current regulations for the property allows the developer to develop the property the way he wants to in regards to the type of units to put on there. So that's not really no issue with being allowed to put it on this property. But you just said that what we're sort of, I guess, having to consider here is whether the units are up closer to 4th Street or whether it's a parking lot in the front side.
So that's the PUD is being used to allow the closer to the street with the parking in the back. So, but the project can happen no matter what. It would just be flipped.
Right. So that's why I want to go back to the comment made by Mr. Huffman. So are you aware of the fact that this development can occur whether we approve it? Just the layout
I
format.
beg to disagree with your staff. I don't think the setbacks will allow this development if you reverse it and put the parking space in front and the apartments on. Your setback requirements on this R4 wouldn't allow that.
I mean, I'm not going to get in an argument or anything,
Okay.
but you're allowed to do parking lot in the front setback. So the parking lot can go up 6 feet from the edge of the sidewalk, would be allowed by right.
But your building, that overlooks the building setbacks that the lot would require. Certainly an R4 would allow 5 units. R4 would allow 12 units with, of course, adequate parking on the same property, respecting the setbacks. But this project couldn't be constructed by just reversing your parking lot and your buildings under R4.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Banks, does
That
that
was
answer
all.
your
I
question?
just, yeah, that's all I had.
Mr. Foster?
Staff, is the parking requirements the same for R4 as the PUD they're
Yes,
proposing?
the only thing the PUD is allowing it to be closer to the street. So again, if you flip it, I mean, I don't know, originally, was this a lot that had 8 units or 9 units on it? Six, okay, yeah, so they, we saw it about 4 months ago, probably. Yeah, with 6 units, and so they've come back with the 5 units. And, again, there is a building, right now there is a building setback, and you're allowed to do parking in the building setback. So, it would be, like I said, 6 feet from the edge of the sidewalk would start the parking lot.
Okay. Mr. Bynell?
Just a couple of quick responses, I guess. We've answered it before, but we're widening 4th Street to a standard city street to handle the traffic. This parking lot accesses off the alley, so it takes pressure. You can go either way off 4th Street or go up to the next block. So it spreads traffic a little bit using the alley. We think that works a little better, and also looks a little better if you've got access coming off the alley. In regards to the general statement by Mr. Huffman about too many homes and too small of area and traffic, I think the city engineer pretty much addressed that with the development of the apartments at Rockwater, saying it's that Rockwater Boulevard and that roundabout is designed to handle this development. I think he was very clear on that, if I remember correctly, and if I need to be corrected, please do so. But I mean, that was addressed. And then, let's see. I think that's it. Sorry.
Thank
If
you, Mr.
any other questions you may have.
Any other comments from any of the commissioners? I think that I concur with Mr. Foster on this. It is just way too dense for what we've got going on down there and what might be proposed in the future by future developers. My
So
2
you-
cents worth. Okay, any other comments on the application? Please call the roll.
Commissioner Banks? No. Commissioner Foster?
No?
Commissioner Pierce?
No.
Commissioner Chambers?
This is a better design with fewer units than I've seen in the past, so I've got to vote yes.
Commissioner Phillips? No. Commissioner Wallace? No. And Commissioner Blasco?
Yes.
And Chairman Clifton?
No. Your application did not pass. So you do have the option to take this before the city council.
Sure.
So with that, it would be the recommendation from the planning commission to the council if asked.
Fine.
Okay, thank you. Number 8, Mr. Chambers.
Number 8. We're on item 10.
I'm sorry, yes.
That would be,
That's going to,
exactly how do I handle that, staff? That is.
Yeah, that's my question.
Hold on just a second, that is the site plan review
10.
meeting for the item we just voted down.
so it's withdrawn.
So it is automatically withdrawn?
Well,
I mean,
I don't
that's a
know
good question, so we're going to,
that is why our attorney's here.
so the planning commission has given a negative recommendation to city council. So we could still vote on it, and then if city council approves it, it gets approved, and if city council denies it, it goes away.
if city.
It's not zoned right.
So,
Because it's not zoned right. So if city council were to deny the rezoning, then the site plan review would go away. Well, that's what he's asking, is how, this really hasn't happened before like this, so.
I've done it in the past where you vote on it, you can vote on it contingent upon the rezoning of a PUD. I've done it both ways, or we just pull it and wait till the PUD gets if and when it does get approved. I've done it both ways. Okay, that's fine by us. Okay. Then we request to withdraw it.
Or
delay it. Postpone, thank you, postpone.
At the request of the applicant, I move that that item 10 be postponed.
Second.
Motion made and seconded to be postponed. All in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you. We had said that number 11 would go last, but while we're here, let's go ahead and hear that number 11 now, 2307, 403 Parker. Yes, sir.
Mr. Commissioner, given the result of item number 9, we would like to postpone our request for item number 11 and 12 as well.
Move to postpone items 11 and 12.
Second.
Motion made and seconded, item 11 and 12 be postponed. All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Item number 13 has been postponed. Item number 14 has been withdrawn. We'll move to item number 15, Mr. Chambers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Design Review Committee heard item SD 2023-21, Maybelline Addition, lots 1 and 2, preliminary plat located west of 10,500 Maybelline Road. The applicant was present, agreed to items 1 through 15 in subsections, and the Design Review Committee recommends approval.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. This item be approved as submitted. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on this application? Any comments from any of the commissioners? All in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
Next item is item 16, SD 2023-23, Holia's Addition, and lots 8A and 8B, Block 11, replat of lots at 4411 Allen Street. The applicant was present, agreed to items 1 through 14 in subsections, and the Design Review Committee recommends approval.
Motion made and seconded. This item be approved as submitted. Anyone in the audience would like to speak on this application? Yes, ma'am. Give us your name.
My name is Ari Strassner Galvan. I live across the street from that lot. And I came here today to request that this gentleman not be allowed to put that house in that lot. Oh, thank you. The gentleman that bought that property is a beer drinker, and ever since he bought that property, there's been, he bought the house at the corner, 4411, and then he turned the garage into a house, and it's full of young men. And there's a new couple just moved in last month. There was another young couple, and they were disturbed. They had 2 small children, and when the owner comes, almost all the men, they're out in the driveway, out in that lot, drinking beer, and they turn their stereos on full blast on mariachi. I try to keep a quiet atmosphere. I do not have a television. I just listen to the radio when I'm in, and I have a little dog, so he barks. So that loud music, and they're laughing, standing out there in the lot, on the parking lot, laughing, talking, cackling. It disturbs me and the dog. And also, the man that lives next door to me, he's friends with the gentleman that bought that, so that's more loudness, drinking, music, and they're breaking their bottles. They mostly drink out of bottles, and they've been breaking their bottles on the sidewalks, and it's gone even into the street. Ever since he has been there, I can't walk my dog on those sidewalks or around that street because of the broken glass, all littered from the alley that separates 45th from 44th. It starts from there all the way around to 709 on 44th Street. And he puts his stuff over on the property where I'm at because since he's buddies with the gentleman that lives next door to me, which is a roofer, he's putting his stuff in that yard. And I went out last week, 2 weeks ago, when he was in the property. He's throwing his stuff on my side of the property. And when I went out to request that he not get on my side of the property, he's rude, he's not friendly. I don't know if he speaks English. The people that were there before said he does not speak a word of English. And I had a hard time believing that since he already has properties in town. So I've been talking to planning office. I've been calling the different offices I can call for help. And I understand that there's space enough for a house on that lot, but he's torn up that yard. He got his truck stuck because I think he'd had too much to drink, and he had to have somebody to pull him off of that tree right there at that sidewalk. And he doesn't clean up behind himself, and there was just Oh, okay, yes, ma'am.
So the request before us is to replat a piece of property into 2 lots. It has nothing to do with the house, who owns it, or any of the kind of that stuff. So that's what's before you, is a replat of property.
You understand that, ma'am? What we're considering here today is just joining these 2 lots together. There's no issue about what you've been thinking.
The opposite,
It's a courtesy.
we're separating.
Mr.
Expression.
Chairman, we're actually here to split a lot in 2 pieces.
Yes. So
Okay,
that's what we're,
I apologize.
that's fine.
No problem.
I just wanted the board to know, you know, the
Yes, ma'am.
the negative part of it.
Yes, ma'am.
Why are they wanting to separate this lot?
I would assume to build another property for future sale of a house. But, you know, that's not, it's zoned residential, so the only thing they could build on it is a house. So there's,
I'm sorry.
that's the requirement for them, but that's not anything before us of what they do with it. They're just asking to divide the lot. And it was probably 2 lots. It was 3 in the past, going north-south, and now they're doing 2 lots going east-west.
So when we approve this, if we do approve this, then you're saying that it'll also include allowing encroachment on into the building, front building setback.
Yeah, the existing house would be allowed by right, and, you know, we're not gonna make them move it or anything, but it would encroach, and if something were to happen to it or redevelopment, it would have, any new development has to meet the setbacks. So there's one house on the property now.
Any other comments from the commissioners? Mr. Chambers?
I guess one positive aspect of it is possibly once this lot is split, it's a lot split, it's a common thing that we do, it's a legal split. And once the lots are split, it may be that he'll be encouraged to sell the properties and go develop elsewhere.
I was told by a man that follows him around that the house is already built and it's in Sherwood, and that he needs a chunk of money and that he's moving.
Okay, ma'am.
Oh, I'm sorry. Okay. Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Would I be allowed to come back when he's,
But this is a subdivision item, and generally what our action is final here. It's not a rezoning or anything like that.
oh, okay, thank you for listening to me. I appreciate it. I've never been here before.
Did
Thank you,
good,
ma'am.
thank you.
Appreciate it.
Have a good evening.
On the application as submitted, call the roll, please. Call the roll on this, please.
Banks? Foster?
No.
Pierce?
Yes.
Chambers?
Yes.
Phillips? Wallace?
Yes.
Glasgow?
Yes.
Chairman Clifton?
Oh. Okay. Thank you. Next item, Mr. Chambers.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Item 17 is SD 2023-24 Giles Edition, Lot A, Block 9, replat and site plan review for 28 townhomes at 412 Parker Street. The applicant was present and agreed to items 1 through 16 in subsections, and the Design Review Committee recommends approval.
Second.
Motion made and seconded that this be approved as submitted. Is the applicant here? Okay.
Sir, Mr. Chairman,
Comments?
Thomas Pennell, I'm here to answer any questions you may have that may arise from this hearing.
Okay. Any comments from anyone in the audience?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Again, I'm Cliff Hoofman. This is everything that I said before. This project of 28 townhouses is one lot. I mean, it's just the backside of the project that we discussed earlier. We put 28 more, Mr. Foster, as you pointed out. Those folks, they're going to be using that same roundabout coming right up Parker Street. And it has the same impact on the porches as the one previously requested on 10 units, or the 5 that you considered. So all of the things that I said before, and all of the petition I gave you before, and the letter from the realtor that I gave you before would apply here. We think that the city needs to do something about the traffic before you destroy the quality of life that we all sought when we saw the green space, as Mr. Foster pointed out earlier, when we put our money into that quiet little community and that nice little neighborhood that has exploded without any consideration being given to how you're going to move those folks. And let me call to your attention, if you do not know, the city approved the Porches homes. They approved them when they were constructed to back out of their garage, the only place they have, back out of their garage into the street. Now, that's the way they were approved, and that's the way they were constructed. And that works nice. But when you put an untold number of cars out there, we can't get out. Mine's one of those that backs out into the street. We can't get out of our house. And every car that you're talking about on this 25 would come right up Parker Street, because you know you can't, you could come into this proposal from Moffett Pike but most likely, everybody that's going anywhere to the freeway to Little Rock or downtown North Little Rock, you got to go and come through that roundabout. So we would approach this one as well for the reasons I've spoken. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Chambers?
Sean, what is the underlying zoning of this property?
Property is zone C6, so the
How many
previous
units are-
one,
How many units are they allowed?
it's based on meeting the setbacks of the property and the open space requirements,
Are
so,
they asking for any variances?
no, they are not.
Okay. And I am not an attorney, but when I first moved here, I was introduced to Richardson versus the city of Little Rock back in the 70s. And he proposed a subdivision. He met every jot and tittle of their regulations, and the city said no. He took it to court, and the court said, well, those are your rules. He complied with every one of your rules. He didn't ask for a variance. You cannot tell him no. He can get his subdivision because he followed your rules, and Planning Commission is just basically approving what he did. I'm not an attorney. I'm not going to debate it. I'm just reporting something that I heard. This particular application, I'm not defending it for its density, its layout, or anything. It completely complies with every one of our rules and regulations. If you deny it, and it doesn't go to city council, it stops here. Applicant takes it to court and said, I have complied with everything they told me to do. I didn't ask for a variance or anything. You really cannot say no. You can, go ahead and vote no, but I don't think that court will hold it up when the applicant complies with everything you asked for, and that's not enough. I just don't see how you can say no to this. But once again, I'm not an attorney. I'm just reporting what I've heard in the past, in case law in the past.
Mr. Pallell? Yes.
What he wants to do.
No comment.
One
I'm just here
thing-
for questions.
Good for you. One thing
He's
that-
not an attorney either.
No, I'm not.
He's a good
thing
engineer.
that has been brought forth that I don't believe has been fully explored. Whenever this roundabout and the porches were all done, we were all supplied with the density information that we had at the time. Now then, we have double, triple the density we had when a traffic study was done for that roundabout. So now then, we're looking at, again, 2, 3, 4 times the amount of houses to try to serve what we observed when the roundabout was built then, and use that, Mr. Spencer.
Yeah, so when we approved the 320 apartment complex, at City Council, the city engineer's office did a presentation of a new study and said that the roundabout could handle what's going on with the 320 plus a lot more. And I don't have the exact number, but it was a lot more that the roundabout was designed for. And I think someone had mentioned that earlier from the podium up there. But there was a second study done by the city engineer's office for that last project, 6 months ago.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Any other comments from any of the commissioners? On the application, call the roll on this, please.
Banks? Foster?
No.
Pierce?
Yes.
Chambers?
Yes. Yeah.
Phillips?
No.
Wallace?
Yes.
Plasko?
Yes.
Chairman Clifton?
No. We are at 4 and 4 with one absent, so you need 5 to pass. So it did not pass, it failed. Am I reading that right?
That's correct.
Ms. Lane? Okay. Okay.
This is new territory for me, and I thank you. It's new territory. Thank you.
Thank you.
It is new territory for sure.
Mr. Chambers.
Item 18. Sorry to be so disruptive. Item 18, SD 2023-25, Council Massey Industrial Park, Lot 8. Site plan review for new building at 9201 Commerce Grove. The applicant was present, agreed to items 1 through 12 and subsections and the Design Review Committee recommends approval.
Second.
It just, Sean and Donna, just to clarify, this is the one that had the shared access or did not have the shared access?
This is the one that doesn't. It's the,
Did not.
it's the second one
The
down.
one to the
Yeah.
south, okay. Have we heard the one to the north yet? Do we already do that one?
Yes.
Okay. No, I have nothing to add to this.
Okay, is the applicant here with any comments?
I'm Lonnie Moise. I'm just here with Philip Lewis Engineering, if y'all have any questions.
Okay, any comments from anyone in the audience on this application? Any comments from any of the commissioners on the application? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Okay, we will go back to item number 3. Rezone case number 2304, 1723 West 19th. Is the applicant here? Did he ever show up?
Moves postponed.
Motion made and
Second.
seconded. We postpone until our next meeting. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you. Public comments, anyone?
The one I was going to make was about Richardson v. Little Rock, but I already made that. Yeah. I'm telling you. Being, no, it was, I moved here in 75 and it was just rocking the planning and. But that would be an interesting question for legal department if thing the city says, when you make a cake and you follow the recipe exactly.
Mr. Chambers, I think, you know, the circumstances around either development are completely different. And I think, you know, there's been a lot of water in the bridge since then, so that's why I voted no against it.
It'd be interesting to see what.
Any other comments?
Move to adjourn?
Made and seconded. We adjourn. All in favor, aye. Aye. Opposed? Thank you.
And by the way, Donna, Mr. Phillips moved to adjourn.